Story 1.
It all began on a regular evening when I decided to give online dating a try. I matched with Elsa, a woman who seemed like my perfect match. We chatted for a while and decided to meet for a date at a cozy little cafe in town. Our first encounter was pleasant. She was charming and witty, and I felt a genuine connection. Everything was going fine at the beginning. Little did I know that things were about to take a sinister turn. Over the next few weeks, Elsa started showing up at places I frequented, like my favorite coffee shop, my gym, and even my workplace. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence. I mean, people do visit the same places, right? But there was something off about her presence. It was as if she always knew where I'd be, and she'd appear out of thin air. I brushed off my unease, thinking I was being paranoid. Maybe she liked the same places I did. Maybe it was just a strange coincidence. But soon, it became clear that it was no coincidence. Elsa's behavior turned from odd to downright creepy. One evening as I left my office, she was waiting by my car. My heart raced as I approached and she greeted me with a chilling smile. "Fancy meeting you here, David?" she said, her eyes locked onto mine. I stammered, trying to sound nonchalant, but her unwavering gaze sent shivers down my spine. The encounters kept coming. Elsa was always there, seemingly wherever I went. She'd send me text messages about places I'd visited that day, places I hadn't mentioned to her. It was clear that she was tracking my every move. I felt trapped, a prisoner in my own life, and I couldn't escape the creeping dread that was taking hold of me. One night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "You look so peaceful when you sleep," it read. Panic gripped me as I realized that she had been watching me even in the sanctuary of my home. I scanned my room, but there was no sign of her. The dread intensified. I decided to confront Elsa about her unsettling behavior. We met at the same cafe where we'd had our first date. I mustered up the courage and asked her, "Why are you always where I am? How do you know where I'm going?" Her response was bone-chilling. She leaned in and whispered, "Because I love you, David. I want to be a part of your life, always." Then she confessed that during our date, she managed to secretly install a GPS tracking app on my phone. She did it when I left my phone unattended for a moment while going to the restroom. I knew I had to put an end to this torment. I went to the police, explaining the situation and providing evidence of the tracking app she had installed on my phone. They began an investigation, but Elsa seemed to vanish, leaving no trace. Days turned into weeks, and the encounters became less frequent. I hoped that it was finally over, that she had moved on, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching me from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the end, I changed my phone, my job, and even my city to escape Elsa's haunting presence. I never fully understood her obsession, or what drove her to do such terrifying things. But one thing was certain. My experience with her would forever be etched in my memory as the scariest and creepiest chapter of my life. A reminder that in the digital age, we should be cautious about who we let into our lives and always protect our privacy.
Story 2.
I remember the day it all happened, like it was yesterday. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the quiet suburban neighborhood. I'd been seeing this guy, Mark, for a few weeks, and he'd invited me over to his place. He seemed nice, and I was looking forward to a chill evening. Little did I know it would turn into one of the creepiest experiences of my life. I rang the doorbell, and Mark greeted me with a warm smile. His house appeared normal from the outside, just like any other house on the block. We exchanged pleasantries, and he led me inside. The inside was pretty ordinary, too. The living room had cozy furniture, a big screen TV, and family photos scattered around. We chatted, and I thought, this is nice, just a regular guy's place. But that was before Mark decided to give me the grand tour. We strolled through the hallway, and I noticed a few odd paintings. They weren't the typical landscapes or family portraits. They were unsettling, to say the least. I asked Mark about them, and he just brushed it off, saying they were some art project he'd been working on. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. As we moved further down the hallway, I noticed a peculiar-looking door. It was hidden behind a heavy, dark curtain, and I couldn't help but be curious. I asked, "What's behind that door?" Mark hesitated for a moment, and then with an awkward smile, he decided to show me. He pulled back the curtain, and the door creaked open, revealing a narrow, dimly lit staircase leading down to a hidden basement. Something felt off about the whole thing. Why was there a secret room in his house? We descended the stairs, and I suddenly felt a wave of unease wash over me. The basement was nothing like the rest of the house. It was cold, damp, and the air smelled musty. Dim, flickering lights hung from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows all around. That's when I saw it. The room was filled with an assortment of creepy objects. There were old, rusty tools hanging on the wall, bizarre masks on the shelves, and strange trinkets scattered on the floor. My heart started racing, and I turned to Mark, asking what all this was about. He avoided eye contact and nervously mumbled something about collecting odd things as a hobby, but that wasn't the worst part. The room was also covered in photographs, all black and white. Each photo depicted people, but they looked frightened, desperate, like they were in pain. I shuddered as I examined them closer. One photo, in particular, sent chills down my spine. It was of a woman, her eyes filled with terror, bound to a chair, with Mark standing next to her, grinning wickedly. I gasped, my voice trembling as I demanded an explanation. Mark finally dropped his pretense and admitted it. He had a sinister secret. He was involved in something truly horrifying, something I couldn't even fathom. He told me he'd been capturing people, tormenting them, and taking those pictures. I couldn't believe my ears. Terrified, I turned and bolted up the stairs, frantically reaching for the front door. Mark chased after me, but I managed to escape, never looking back. I knew I had to go to the authorities and expose his sinister secret before more innocent lives were ruined. To this day, I still have nightmares about that hidden room and the disturbing photographs. It was a night I'll never forget. A night that showed me the true face of darkness hidden behind an ordinary facade.
Story 3.
It was supposed to be a simple first date, just a hike in the woods with a seemingly charming guy I'd met online. Little did I know, I was about to step into a nightmare. His name was Alex, and our conversations had been pleasant. He suggested we go for a hike in a remote forest, and being a nature lover, I thought it was a perfect idea. We met at the trailhead, and right away, I was struck by his warm smile and easygoing demeanor. We started our hike on a sunny morning, and I couldn't have been more excited. The forest was beautiful, with tall trees and a carpet of leaves covering the ground. The fresh air filled my lungs, and for a while, everything seemed perfect. As we walked deeper into the woods, I started to notice strange symbols carved into the trees. At first, I thought it was some sort of nature art, but the symbols grew more intricate and unsettling. I pointed one out to Alex and asked, "What do you think these symbols mean?" He just chuckled nervously and said, "Oh, probably just some kids fooling around. Don't worry about it." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The symbols seemed too deliberate, too eerie for kids' pranks. Still, I brushed it off and kept walking, thinking I was just being paranoid. As we ventured deeper into the forest, Alex's demeanor began to change. He grew quieter, his smile faded, and his eyes seemed to hold a sinister glint. I tried to engage him in conversation, but he gave short, cryptic answers. It was as if I was walking with a different person. The forest grew darker as the sun started to set, and the shadows cast by the tall trees made me shiver. I told Alex that maybe we should turn back, but he insisted we keep going. He said he knew of a beautiful spot deeper in the woods where we could watch the sunset. As we continued, my unease grew. I noticed that the symbols on the trees were becoming more frequent, and some of them seemed to form a twisted, continuous pattern. The whole forest felt like it was closing in on me, and I was beginning to wonder if I had made a terrible mistake coming out here with Alex. Suddenly, he stopped and turned to me with a malevolent grin. "You know," he said, "I brought you here for a reason. These symbols, they're not just random. They're part of something ancient, something dark, and now you're a part of it too." My heart raced, and I felt a surge of panic. I tried to turn and run, but he was too fast, grabbing my arm with an iron grip. His eyes bore into mine, and I could see the madness within. I was trapped in the middle of nowhere with a stranger who had dark intentions. I struggled, but he was too strong. He dragged me deeper into the forest, and I could see that we were heading toward a clearing where a strange, ritualistic circle of symbols had been carved into the ground. I knew I had to escape, and with a burst of adrenaline, I managed to break free. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, branches and thorns tearing at my clothes and skin. The forest felt like a labyrinth, but I had to find a way out. The fear, the darkness, and the sound of Alex's chilling laughter chased me through the trees. Hours later, I stumbled out of the woods, scratched, bruised, and terrified, but alive. I reported the incident to the authorities, and they launched a search for Alex, but he had vanished without a trace. That day, I learned that sometimes the most charming smiles hide the darkest intentions. The forest that was once a place of beauty and serenity had become a nightmare I would never forget. I often wonder what would have happened if I hadn't managed to escape that sinister first date in the remote forest.
Subscribe for more videos.